Bernalillo County District Attorney Carrie Brandenburg announced that her office is filing charges against two officers involved in the fatal shooting of James Boyd last year. Mr. Boyd was a homeless man who was camping in the foothills of Albuquerque, and video of that shooting was made public, and that's for sure. Now, in the past, Ms. Brandenburg has been criticized by some for not bringing charges up against officers in APD involved in other fatal shootings, and the story is getting national and international attention. Here to comment on what this means for New Mexico, we have Tom Garrity of the Garrity Group PR, Vicki Harrison, Executive Director of Common Cause New Mexico. Rob Nicoleski is back. He's from the news website watchdog.org. And Laura Sanchez-Rive of Sanchez Legal Solutions. Welcome, all of you. Laura, let me start with some procedural house cleaning business. Some of this stuff can be a little confusing for the layperson. What is the difference between where Ms. Brandenburg had a choice of a grand jury, which we're all sort of familiar with, but preliminary hearing instead? What's the difference between those, or what are the usual outcomes on those kind of hearings?
Well, I mean, procedurally, it's a procedural difference, and a pretty significant one, and an unusual step for them to go the preliminary hearing route.
Right.
They're basically, it's like a bench trial. They're essentially bringing to the judge their evidence and asking for a charge in that way to ensure that there's enough probable cause for it.
Right.
In a grand jury situation, it's an indictment that they're seeking. It's a different term. The outcome essentially is still they're being charged.
Sure.
But essentially, they're going to be indicted potentially through a grand jury. The grand jury process is secretive. They basically work without a defense. There's not a defense attorney present. You can have an attorney that advises you, but they're not with you at the time that you're being questioned.
Wow.
So it's very different, and it's under, it's secret. So people don't, you don't get the public involved. You don't have sort of the court of public opinion that's participating. Whereas the other option, the one that she chose to go, is public. I mean, it goes in front of the judge. It's a hearing that's open, and I think those are very different outcomes. My sense was that she went, with this because she's been criticized, both in terms of the personal situation she's gone through with her son, but also all the tension between her and the police. I think she chose that route so that it would be open and there wouldn't be a question about whether there was some sort of impropriety there.
Interesting. We'll come back to the situation she finds herself in with the son you mentioned, but Rob Nicoleski, good to see you too. The idea that, as Laura laid out, the preliminary hearing will get things more public. And it seems to me there's an interesting dynamic at play here for Ms. Brandenburg to argue this out in the public. And on top of that, with Sam Bregman, former city councilor Sam Bregman, who's now representing one of the officers, he's fighting this out in public already. He's got his side of the deal out there already. Can we just expect this to keep going like this in the public?
Oh yeah, this thing is reaching critical mass on a number of different levels. First of all, because the human element of this thing, someone gets killed and someone's been accused of this, but also from the political standpoint, I mean, this is like politics squared, cubed here in Albuquerque because of the fight between Ms. Brandenburg and the APD, the fact that Sam Bregman, the chairman of the state Democratic Party, is defending one or two of these officers involved. I mean, this is, and I think that from an average person standpoint, an average voter standpoint, I mean, I think that the charges of murder are pretty steep. That's a pretty dramatic.
Were you surprised by that she came out so strong?
Well, Channel 13 and Jeff Proctor said, I think about a month ago, that that she was considering this, and so it didn't come as a shock. I think it's a pretty high level to reach, but the judge who will determine this has a number of different options, and not just murder and second-degree murder and first-degree murder, but also something the equivalent of manslaughter, and then dropping the charges altogether. My overall impression of this is that there has been so much opaqueness for a number of years, and we've had so much controversy that even though these charges are pretty serious, I think that if there really is nothing to these charges, as Mr. Bregman says, well, let's have it out in the open.
Right. Fair enough.
And have Officer Sandy and people like that address the questions, because the other big thing about this as well is this is all on video. We've talked about this before. I think that's what makes the Boyd shooting different than all the others.
Let me swing these guys in on that very point. Vicki Harrison, good to see you from Common Cause. And what's interesting from Mr. Bregman's defense, as it were, as it stands now, is this idea of premeditation or not. Meaning, and it hangs on the wording that the tape Rob's mentioning picked up of this officer saying that it sounded like to the layperson he had a plan to shoot this person. Do you see what I mean? There's a very
Absolutely.
interesting wordplay going on here. What's your
Well,
sense
and
of
there
that?
is, and I think what Rob says is very important. Is using the term murder. I mean, we as lay people use murder for everything, but legally, murder is a very specific thing, and I think that. I personally am thrilled that this is going to be out in public. That's been, obviously Common Cause wants transparency.
Sure.
And I think that's been the biggest problem, and why there's so much fighting on both sides is everybody feels like they've been screwed over somehow by not getting the right truth.
Right.
Or something's happened, there's been some sort of backroom deal. And I think that it's really critical for people to regain trust in the police department, to regain trust, because that reverberates everywhere, and we see people getting more and more disengaged, and they are not, because they feel like everybody's always going to put one over on them.
Right, exactly.
And I think that doing it in public, I appreciate Laura's description of the differences, because that is, people are still saying, well, what does that exactly mean?
Right.
And I think that that's the key thing, is that it will be in public, and if you want to go and sit and watch, you can do that as a citizen.
Interesting, isn't it? I know
It
the
is
difference
interesting.
is
I
profound.
love to go sit
Exactly.
in a court trial.
Right on. Tom, the court of public opinion is always part and parcel of these things. No one's arguing against the defense or Ms. Brandenburg for getting their stuff out there, but at the same time, things can get sort of solidified in the public's mind early. Are the police at a huge disadvantage here, trying to get around the wording, trying to get around the perception of the video? Do you know what I mean? It seems like the public is against them already. Can they get a fair hearing here, literally?
Well, so many different perception issues and such. I think that right now, the APD is not sitting in a preferred position.
Right.
The officers are not, and mainly because of the high-profile nature of the video, other national events that have come out to play as well, and then also, just the recent track record of additional police shootings, whether justified or not, it doesn't matter, because that gets police officers as a whole in the spotlight. And right now, not being anywhere close to any kind of legal strategist, I would think that you don't want that right now. From a PR perspective, if you have something that is really high profile, you want to minimize that as much as possible.
Right.
And I think what we've seen play out with regards to the recent police shootings are a couple of very interesting things at play. One is that the mayor, came out immediately as soon as the district attorney had talked about, filing the murder charges, and it really emphasized fair, transparent, and unbiased opportunity to get to the facts.
That's right.
And then all of a sudden there's another police shooting,
Right.
and all of that goes out the window when his CAO decides that, fair, transparent, all that has certain limits now because of all of this. That's right. So
Let me stop you there and
Yeah.
get you to and touch on that, actually.
Yeah.
Go ahead and flesh that out. What had happened was there was a shooting
Yes.
This week, and as is standard practice, Laura mentioned the legal side of this, the procedural stuff. The procedure is someone from the DA's office shows up at every shooting to look over warrants, make sure everything is being straight. But they weren't let onto the crime scene, and the APD person said, "We don't need you. We got plenty of help. We don't need you." How is that going to work in the court of public perception?
Well, it's not playing well. I mean, all you have to do is, listen to, different talk radio, read the newspapers, and even just have a simple conversation. Right. And you know that this just isn't playing real well. And here's an opportunity. A lot of people do not understand law enforcement.
Right.
They don't understand the responsibilities that these officers put on the line every single time they go out. And to really close off additional insight does not help them at all.
That's right. And Laura, this is by agreement a few years ago. The county, all kinds of entities, this was decided. This is what you do on a crime scene. So that begs the question, it seems that we're under a minute here. Where does Carrie Brandenburg go from here? Does she go quiet and let this thing play out? Where does Sam Bregman go from here? How do you argue this out before because we don't have a hearing date yet. And who knows when that's going to happen.
Right.
Nature abhors a vacuum, as they say.
And Rob mentioned that Sam is the current chair of the Democratic Party. I'm a member of the Democratic Party, and I can definitely say that, Sam he's an attorney, and he very clearly separates being the chairman of the party from being an attorney. And I think this is one of those examples where he needs to represent his client, and he's going to do so. He's not one to shy away. So to your question about how he's going to handle it, I can definitely guarantee he'll be out there and making his case. One of the problems, it's a double-edged sword, this issue of having it out in the open, because people tend to associate anything that they see in a procedural context before a judge as a trial.
Gotcha.
And I think that our public, the way we perceive Law and Order and all these other shows, you're in front of a judge, all of a sudden it's a trial, therefore whatever comes out there is evidence and the guy's guilty. The problem is this is a preliminary hearing. This is not an actual trial. And I think that's going to be tough. And I think, we're going to see a lot more. And the issue about the attorney not being able to be there, the DA, that's really terrible because it erodes trust between those two parties, and they have to work closely in the context of a trial.
That's right.
So I think it's a real problem they're going to need to fix.
We shall continue with this subject at this table. There is no doubt. We'll be back in a moment with a look at the renewed debate over using part of the state's land grant permanent fund to support more childhood programs here in New Mexico.